But the Dolphins, I would imagine, when you looked at the film, it's a different type of a team that you're going to have to play this week. What, from your perspective, what do you guys have to do to deal with what they are trying to do?
Yeah, we're getting our track shoes on. That's what kind of game it's going to be. Fast, speed, explosive, well coached. I mean, they put a good team together across the board, even on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to have our hands full. Obviously, we have to play our best football, but this is an extreme challenge for our team, and we're looking forward to it.
And Antonio Pierce is 100% correct. The boys in black and silver better indeed have those track shoes laced up. In addition to coming off of a bye week, the Miami Dolphins have speedster Devon Achane coming back. So the high-octane offense just got a turbo boost. What makes the Raiders' task even harder is that the Dolphins are basically invincible at home. This year, the Dolphins have gone 4-0 when playing at the Hard Rock. While the Raiders would indeed love to win and build up a little steam for Antonio Pierce and start building for the future and a possible playoff berth, the Miami Dolphins are basically in a must-win situation. Not because they're at risk for not making the playoffs. I think they're pretty locked in there. But the Dolphins are going to need home field advantage in the playoffs. So let me dig into some real football talk and analysis that I doubt you've seen anywhere else in regards to the Dolphins-Raiders game. So what's the Raiders' plan to attack the Miami Dolphins? Run the ball and keep that Dolphins offense off the field. The Raiders' new coach understands what it means to play on the road, and he also knows what's needed to face an explosive, speedy team like the Miami Dolphins.
Certain things travel, good defense and run game. Just take it with you, pack it up.
Things that you've done pretty well these last couple of weeks. Do you feel that could go in the suitcase?
It's in the suitcase. It's packed up. It's ready to go.
And there you have it. The Raiders' game plan in all of its simplicity. I bet Raiders fans watching will have to agree. They're bringing an aggressive, in-your-face defense led by one of the best defensive players in the National Football League, along with a running game featuring arguably the best running back in the National Football League. Antonio Pierce is going to rely on Max Crosby harassing Tua Tagovailoa and Josh Jacobs running the ball a lot. And if the opportunity presents itself, they're going to get Devontae Adams plugged in as much as they possibly can. This is one of those games that scares me. When you normally look at an opponent, you look to see what their weaknesses and strengths are. You want to see how your opponent matches up to the opponent's vulnerabilities and how it fits well with your game plan and your personnel. In this game, it appears that the Miami Dolphins can score a lot of points if they're given the opportunity to do so. However, in my opinion, the Raiders' ground game and their approach to the ground game leaves me with cause for concern. The Raiders' strength with that ground game directly faces the Miami Dolphins' weakness. The defensive front seven, like the offense, is built on a finesse game. So the question is, how will they fare in a barroom brawl, which is what the Raiders want to make this game?
Vic, by my research, I counted 7 interior defensive linemen around the NFL playing 75% or more of their team's defensive snaps. 2 of those are Zach and Christian. Is there ever any concern about them maybe having too heavy of a workload?
Yeah, at times there is. A lot of it depends upon the flow of the game. We don't have a lot of D linemen on the active roster in comparison to other teams. So they're capable. They've done it in the past, and they've done it this year so far of being able to log a lot of plays.
Did you understand what Vic Fangio just said there? He was asked about his level of concern with the defensive front playing a lot of snaps. Only 7 defensive linemen in the entirety of the NFL have played 75% or more of their team's defensive snaps. And 2 of those 7 people are Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer. Fangio was asked directly about that, and he said, yeah, it does concern him as well. Then, to make matters worse, he admitted that the Miami Dolphins defensive line is understaffed. He said this season, they've had to let these guys play a lot of snaps, and the plan is to make that happen again. Since the Raiders have already announced that their game plan is to pound the ball, do you see how this might be a problem? And then again, Vic Fangio telegraphed the liability in the Dolphins defense.
Well, I think it goes back to his question there with the guys, the D linemen. Usually most teams will rotate their D linemen a lot, which ups those numbers that you just alluded to. We're low on D linemen, so we don't do it as much. So that's part of that.
I want you to listen closely to this question and the answer. In particular, focus in on Vic Fangio's answer.
Raiders are going to run the ball a lot with Josh Jacobs. What do you need to do to get your defense prepared for maybe the physicality of the game with a lot of runs going?
Yeah, we just have to come in with the right mindset. They're going to try and run the ball. That's what their mantra is right now, and they've done a good job of it. Jacobs is an excellent back, one of the top backs in the league. They're doing a good job of blocking for him, both the line, the tight ends, and the fullback when he's been available to play. So it will be a stern test.
The question was from the reporter is what he was going to do to combat the physicality of the Raiders. Now, I understand in press conferences, coaches aren't going to reveal a lot of strategy and are not going to say much, but Fangio's answer struck me. One, he said he knows what's coming. He knows that the Raiders want to pound the ball. Two, he commented on the blocking capacity of the offensive line, the tight ends, and the fullback. And his answer, in regards to how he was going to deal with the Raiders' physicality, he said he wants to adjust the player's mindset. Earlier, he admitted that the Dolphins' weakness is in the front seven. In conjunction with that, he admitted that they're low on personnel in the front seven. Yet when asked directly about how you're going to deal with the Raiders' physicality and how you're going to stop that running game, that physical, in-your-face running game, he said it's all about changing mindset. Once again, as usual, the press dropped the ball. The very next question out of that reporter's mouth is, hey, Vic, we're 10 games into the NFL season. How do you expect to change the mindset of the team basically overnight? But of course, that didn't get asked. I've been in a few fights in my life, on and off the field. You don't all of a sudden develop that dog mentality. You either have the dog in you or you don't. But according to a highly paid, well-regarded defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, the answer to the question when somebody wants to punch you in the mouth is just change your mindset and deal with it. Seriously? The Raiders are going to line up with the sole intention and focus of punching the Miami Dolphins square in the face. And your answer to that is just change your mindset. Gotcha. I want to believe that Vic Fangio was just putting up a smokescreen, and he does have a plan. At least I hope he does. If somebody barges into your house, your wife and children are sitting right there. They don't want to have to know whether or not you can change your mindset. You have to be able to react and take action and execute right then and there. They expect you to do something. They expect you to already have a plan. You better protect this house. And in that regard, I don't think Vic Fangio is stupid whatsoever. So now let's address what Vic Fangio is probably going to do, but couldn't say it in an open press conference. If you have a weaker defensive front and you're going up against a team that wants to run the ball, wants to just pound the rock all day, you got to do some things you're not accustomed to doing.
You got to play what you need to play to compete with your opponent. So if that means you have to change something and do something radical, you can.
Now we're talking. Now you're seeing a glimpse of what Vic Fangio really wants to do. This is one of those games where you indeed have to get radical. So what would be a radical approach when you're facing a team that wants to get physical with you? Well, obviously, you got to get physical back with them. You have to outnumber them at the point of attack. Bring in reinforcements if you need to, but you got to stand toe-to-toe and slug it out. You got to cause confusion and chaos. So in football terms, in regards to the Miami Dolphins, that means leaving Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey out there on an island to guard Devontae Adams and the other receivers, and then bringing everybody else up in the box. That would be a radical plan to stop somebody who wants to run the ball. What do you think about that, Vic?
You're thinking well on your decision to play Deshaun Elliott virtually all the snaps or all the snaps with Holland. That said, do you have in the back of your mind a package that would take advantage of Brandon Jones' unique blitzing skills that he showed the year and a half prior to your arrival, where maybe we might see that?
Yeah, maybe.
There you have it. It's that simple. Crowd that box, bring guys up, run blitz, do whatever you need to do. Stop the Raiders from running. You're probably going to see a box loaded with everybody. You're going to see Jerome Baker in there. You're going to see AVG. You're going to see Deshaun Elliott. You're going to see Javon Howard. You're going to see Brandon Jones. They're all going to come up and try to stop the Raiders from running. And that's because the Raiders have a young quarterback that they don't want to have to rely on. So the Dolphins have to force them to rely on O'Connell. The Dolphins offense can score. There's no doubt about that. We all know that. But Tua, Tyreek, Achane, Waddle, they can't do their thing if they're not on the field. Fangio has to stop the run to get the offense back on the field and to get the defense off the field so they're not just getting pounded all day long and time of possession becomes a big issue because the guys get tired. Don't let this game get deep into the third quarter where the Raiders are still in a position where they might be able to win, because at that point, that means that Josh Jacobs' running game is actually working and that the defense is going to get tired. Let's not let that happen. Since Antonio Pierce has become the head coach of the Raiders, he has let the dogs loose. He has changed his team from its listless ways of Jimmy G and has actually relied on the ground game to make things work. In the 2 wins he's racked up since he's become the head coach, Antonio Pierce has just kept handing the ball off to Josh Jacobs. Jacobs has nearly averaged 30 carries per game in the Raiders' last 2 wins. In the Dolphins' 3 losses, none of the teams, not the Eagles, not the Chiefs, and not the Buffalo Bills, brought the kind of physicality in the run game that the Raiders are going to bring. And thus far, no team on the Dolphins' schedule that they've played thus far have brought the kind of physical run game that they're going to see with the Raiders. Remember, when they beat the Giants, Saquon Barkley wasn't playing. The sole key to this game is the Miami Dolphins taking the punches in the face and stopping the Raiders' running game. That's the key to the game. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that the Miami Dolphins offense can take care of business, but they have to be on the field to do so. If Vic Fangio finds a way to stop the Raiders' running game, Miami wins big. If Josh Jacobs is carrying the ball for 30 times or more, or even close to 30 times, the Dolphins could be in trouble.
The hands are full on Sunday, facing the number 1 offense in their building, coming off a bye, 2 touchdown underdogs. It says it all. But not if you ask Antonio Pierce.
Different jersey colors, different location, different scenery, but they do put their pants one leg at a time, just like us. They strap their helmets up just like us. And when we get there on Sunday, they got to play football just like us. And we'll be fine, just like us.
When everybody talks about Miami's got this and that, you got to feel really good about the players you have. You can go toe-to-toe offensively anywhere in the country.
I'm glad you did your homework. That's the same thing I told our players. And we'll see you on Sunday.
Let me know what you think about this and whether or not the Dolphins can stop the Raiders' running game. And don't forget, click right here to join me Sunday at 12:45 when I go live and doing my watch party with the Raiders Dolphins. Talk to you soon. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?